I was about 267 pounds, I think,
You're
and
short.
never worked out a day in my life at, 5'10" and a half. And um, yeah, I just went for it. So that's what I would tell anyone who wants to compete or thinking about it. Go for it. I promise you'll be proud of yourself. And the biggest gift I think that I got from this is that it'll inspire others. And how cool is that, right? To inspire someone else to kind of go after, whatever goals that they might have.
Hey, podcast. This is Colt. We got Frankie Arcega. He is a Seattle-based chef and award-winning men's physique competitor, having just competed at the Emerald Cup, the largest NPC national qualifying bodybuilding show in the United States. Here's how he did. First place in men's physique Open E and first place in men's physique masterclass, as well as other awards. Frankie has recently become sponsored by FX Sups. Listeners to our show can get 25% off with discount code FXFrankie25 at fxsups.com or on their Instagram page at FXSups. Also, he just landed a sponsorship with a new clothing line, Forever Evolve, that will be launching soon. Stay tuned for that. You can follow Frankie on Instagram at Frankie Arcega. All of the links that we just mentioned are included in the show notes on this episode. Frankie and I met around 5 years ago at LA Fitness in Bellevue, Washington. My brother and I were working out and met him, so we hung out from time to time since then. Been a positive source of encouragement to each other ever since. Just an all-around smart, successful dude, somebody that I respect. Just an all-around good guy. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Arcega.
Thank you so much, Colt. I'm a firm believer that, good people just kind of, they make their way to each other. So I'm super happy that I'm on the podcast this afternoon. And, you've always been a positive light of encouragement, and, it's always good to see you. And I'm just glad to see what you're doing too. So thank you so much for having me on today.
I appreciate you, bro. So why did you start competing? Was this your first show?
This was my very first show. Yeah. So,
well, for the first one, it's incredible.
Not bad, not bad. Better than I thought. And, I was telling Colt before this, I just, I didn't expect to, I always had high hopes that I would do well. And, there was a part of me that believed that I would, but, there was no expectation. And, it just turned out way better than I had planned. So thank you for that. But why did I start competing? Fitness kind of came pretty late in my life, right? A lot of people just, they think, hey, Frankie, you've probably played sports your whole life. You're so aesthetic and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't actually even touch a weight till my late 20s. So I'm going to age myself and just out myself right now. I'm 39. I'll be 40 this year. So I'm turning into an old man. But, I started late, and what a lot of people don't know is I was severely overweight, and, not touching a weight. It's just, gosh, I think I was about 33% body fat, somewhere pretty unhealthy. Right. So, in my fitness journey, I went through, I went through a weight loss process, and, within that time, obviously, or later on, obviously your fitness circle grows, or your group of gym friends grow. And a lot of my friends were competing, or starting to compete. And, it interested me. It just wasn't anything too serious. But in 2019, I went to my first bodybuilding show. So I went to the Emerald Cup 2019 in Bellevue. I actually saw you there, right? We ran into each other at, I think, the Beast Mode booth, trying some seasoning, or at least I was.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience, and shortly after that, I went to the Tangi Johnson Classic here in Washington. Tangi, most decorated women's women's bodybuilder in the Northwest. After that, went to the Vancouver Pro Show in Canada. And then I went to the Ironman in Woodinville, where I had a couple friends competing. So naturally, it just started piquing my interest more and more, and I started geeking out on it like I do with things. I just go kind of all in, and I started watching YouTube videos, following more and more competitors on my social media profiles. And, during that time, I was competing in a lot of races. So a lot of marathons, if you're familiar with obstacle course races, like
Spartan.
Spartan, more Spartan, because, they had, just those hardcore obstacles that you couldn't just be a runner, right? You had to have some muscle on you. You had to be pretty involved in working out as well. And what attracted me to bodybuilding is that a lot of bodybuilders have that same disciplinary mindset, training hard, overcoming obstacles. But what I would say, what really got the ball rolling for me was, if you remember in 2019, Jarrell, and I might butcher his last name, but Jarrell Baton or Beton.
I'm a habit of butchering people's last names. It's all good.
He won the men's physique overall in 2019, and him being a good friend, I was like, wow, Jarrell did it, and he did it miraculously. I think he was only training for about 6 months, and he'd never competed, and it got me serious about wanting to compete. But one thing that everyone who competed told me is that if I was serious, I had to get a coach, right? So I started looking for coaches, but the problem is, and this, Colt, probably, that bodybuilding it's not a cheap sport. It takes a lot of money, and coaches are expensive.
Part of it.
Yeah, and
when someone's not micromanaging, but so involved into every aspect of your life, the way that a coach has to be. When you get that to the show, that's not so, you don't want to pay somebody any less than what the times where either anything you want to pay them more. You're like, man, I want you to be giving me the very best, because I'm putting everything into this show right now.
Exactly. It's a very meticulous process. And, I just didn't have the money for it. But, I met an IFBB pro by the name of Jordan Hubbard at LA Fitness in Kirkland, Washington. And I didn't know him. I just remember seeing him work out. I'm like, oh gosh, that guy's a beast. That guy's goals right there, and he had this weight belt that said IFBB pro, Jordan Hubbard. And, I started chatting up with him a little bit, and, we became acquaintances. And, through having conversations with him, he said, I told him about my interest in competing, but, I was searching for coaches. I had a couple in mind, but I just didn't have the money. And, I don't know, a week or two went by, and he reached out to me on Instagram, and he said, hey, something out there told me that I should reach out to you and help you out. And he was just such a big blessing in my life. And so he told me to help me out until I got on my feet a little bit. And that kind of set, once he started my plan, it was just no turning back from there, right? I had committed, and that was really what started it. So again, I just feel so incredibly blessed and fortunate to have met Jordan. Not only is he an amazing coach, he's an amazing friend, and I consider him family. So big shout out to Jordan Hubbard and Kimberly Lee with Renovation Fitness. That's their company. Love you guys. If anyone's looking for a couple of great coaches, whether it's bodybuilding or if you're just trying to get into lifestyle, reach out to them, tell them I sent you. And they'll take care of you. You can find them on Instagram at Renovation Fitness. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Awesome. Would you ever consider doing a show without a coach?
Absolutely not. Just because I know myself, I need the accountability. So for example, this week here's the thing. Now that I've won doesn't mean that it stops, because now I qualify for nationals, where I could potentially be a pro athlete. And this week I was having a couple rough days, and I decided to jump into a box of Girl Scout cookies, which I was only planning to have one, and it turned into, I think, 2.5 boxes and some other things on top of that. Let's just say I checked in with Jordan this morning, and he sent me one of those emojis, where the emoji's hitting its head. So, and I need that discipline. Otherwise I'll go off the rails.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Bro, I'm the same way. I did 2 years of competing without a coach because I'm a pretty bullheaded guy. That probably surprises you. Those that know me know that about me. And 2 years without a coach, and that was the beginning of an eating disorder. Throw it out there. Men struggle with it, women struggle with it. Something that we want to do when we open up our gym is to have some sort of anonymous support group for people that are struggling with it, because it's so shameful of a subject to talk about. When I was in the depths of it, I almost wished I was addicted to cocaine or like something that was manly.
Yeah, wow.
I'm like, this is like an old lady problem. And Robert Sykes, Keto Savage, he and I talked about it quite a bit at his show, and he's struggled with it too. It's a lifelong thing.
I love that you share that, because I think that more people struggle with it than they're willing to admit, just like with any type of addiction or problem. Yeah. So, man, I commend you. So, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, certainly not something that I'm proud of, but I feel like God wants me to share that from time to time, though, because you never know who's listening. You never know who else is struggling with it. That was like, man, like I thought I was the only one. And it's a deep, dark place. It's a real challenging pit to get out of. And when you're in the middle of that cycle, you need all the help that you can get. You need a coach. You need accountability. You need prayer. You need it all. It's a tough one.
100%.
I'm the same way with you on the Girl Scout cookies, man. Like, if it's one Girl Scout cookie, I'm just like, I'm not even gonna tempt myself, because the one is just torture. And
oh man, I know
it's off the rails for me. So as long as I stick to steak and just like meat and just all the foods that I know how I feel and how I perform and how I think and how I feel and how I sleep, if I just stick to those things, personally, I do best with an elimination diet. Yeah, there's eliminators, moderators, and I'm the first one of those. So
yeah, same.
Well, I feel like we should move away from this topic. So your physique is symmetrical all around, but what stands out to me is the abs. Bro, are you like genetically gifted in the midsection? Do you got any favorite ab exercise? What's your ab training look like?
Oh boy, to be honest well, thank you. I appreciate that, first of all. To be honest, I don't know what my genetics really look like, to be honest. I'm first generation of people in my family to work out. And so if you look at everyone, I don't think anyone in my family has ever had abs, nor have I seen them. But also my mom and dad are a lot shorter than me. So, I don't know where my physique really came from. But I haven't looked past, maybe I should do a little ancestry just to see what's going on. But, like I said, I used to be a lot heavier, and I never thought I'd ever be fit. I remember being in my room crying as a kid, wishing I had a genie in a bottle, and one of my wishes would be to be fit, right? Or to have abs.
Yeah.
And So when I lost the weight initially, I still didn't have abs, so I worked them out every single day religiously. Um, and I did every ab exercise imaginable out there.
Yeah.
The funny thing is actually when I started bodybuilding, I avoided doing any ab workouts, and that was through direction from my coach because, in the bodybuilding, or if people don't know, in the bodybuilding industry, you want to keep your waist as slim as possible. Right. So I got the abs, earlier on, and I just stopped working them out just so I can have a thinner waist on stage. But luckily for me, since I built them early, I think it gave me a great foundation. I'd say probably the only tip that I can give anyone is, abs they're made in the kitchen, right? And you've heard that, right? It's about diet. And I don't like when people give the one size fits all approach. While certain exercises may still work, find out which exercises, are most optimal for you, where you can feel the target muscle and really get that mind muscle connection, right?
Right.
But I will tell you my favorite ab exercise of all time. If you just, those freestanding decline benches. So I do 3 movements. I do weighted decline crunches. So I'll just hold the plate in front of myself, crunch that plate, and then I'll do about 25 reps. And then I'll do a Russian twist with that weight, so I'll just go from side to side. And then I'll go into leg lifts. So I'll jump on that decline bench backwards and start lifting my legs. That was my bread and butter. Like I said, I would do anywhere from 20 to 25 reps in each position, and I would do that for a total of 4 sets, and it was just killer. So
Sounds good. I think I'll stick to my ab routine. Thanks a lot.
You probably got a good one.
Yeah, mine's pretty old school. I like to do a lot of Roman chairs because I can.
Oh yeah.
So I can just sit there and I won't count reps or anything, but I'll just go for 5 minutes. And I can do all my social media, and I get pretty sporadic about what my music playlist is going to be. I'll be like, okay, this song, and then 2 seconds to it. No, screw that. This song. No. What about that song? Man, I need a new song, and then I'll do that for 5 minutes.
Wow, I'm impressed. You're multitasking.
Yeah, well, I hate doing abs, so I gotta get my mind off of it. And I know you're all about getting your mind inside the muscle, and so am I. And there's merit to that. But there's some days where it's just man, I do not want to do this right now. How can I entertain myself by listening to some news or a podcast or something? So yeah, abs are definitely made in the kitchen. I agree with you on that. What's been your favorite food up and through your prep of this last show, your first show?
My favorite food. People are probably going to cringe. I mean, I really started enjoying all my food during prep. Not so much at the beginning, right? I really had to grow into it and also find recipes that I like to eat. But I'd probably say my favorite food was tilapia and rice. Yeah, I see you cringing. And I know so many people out there that are like, tilapia? Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. I'm gonna plug Costco for a second because they've got these tilapia loins that they're a lot cleaner, and I just throw them in my air fryer, and I just, for some reason, I just love that meal. And thank God, because towards the end of prep, I think 3 or 4 of my meals were tilapia and rice, so I was loving it.
That's hilarious. Work at Trident Seafoods, which is Costco's supplier.
Oh, okay.
There were weeks where I was eating fried tilapia every single day.
So you were just done.
Because they have a QA room with all this food, and people have to eat it and make sure that it's good. And so there's all this extra deep fried fish that they're just gonna get rid of. And I was broke, man. And so I was like, yeah,
Hey, you got to get it if you're, if you're penny pinching. right? You gotta eat somehow.
Yeah, those are the days where I did not have abs. That's where I actually started bodybuilding, though. Just whenever I would get a break in work, I would just start doing a whole bunch of push-ups. And I remember my dad telling me that he just did a whole bunch of push-ups as a kid, and that's how he got so big. And I just started doing that. And then I was like, wow, if I went and got a gym membership, like I could actually probably get some biceps too, and something else. Some pecs.
Well, don't underestimate the push-up. It's a great exercise. So
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
So what's your least favorite food up through this prep?
People are probably going to cringe when I say this too, because to be honest, it was chicken. It was the chicken breast, because towards the end of prep, I actually found and created a recipe. I actually just kind of revised my mom's chicken adobo. So I'm Filipino. Adobo is like a famous Filipino dish that every household in the Philippines really makes, and everyone thinks that their mom's is the best, but I will tell you that that's not true. My mom's is the best. And I learned how to make it with stevia and amino acids, and I really started liking it. But prior to that, I tried cooking it in every way possible, slow cooker, pan fry, air fryer, baking it, and it just, for some reason, it just tasted like cardboard to me. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless you do chicken thighs, but then your fat goes too high.
Exactly. I would have killed for chicken thighs.
Yeah. So for some advice, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, I'm thinking about competing for the first time, what should I consider? Knowing what you know now, what would you tell a guy like that?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Well, first off, I would just say do it, right? YOLO, you only live once, or YODO, you only die once, right? Do as much as you can. And I'll speak from experience, right? One of the first things someone told me was to get a coach, right? So I'm going to tell you, get a coach and listen to everything your coach tells you to do, right? I started coaching people on the side, and I've seen my coach experience this as well. But people always want to take control, and they want to think that they know what's best for themselves. But here's the thing, your best thinking got you to where you are, to where you needed a coach. So, listen to your coach. And your biggest competition is yourself. So, don't compare yourself to others. I know that's harder said than done, especially with things like social media out there. Just remember, you have qualities that only you possess, and never fucking give up, right? Just one foot in front of the other. There's always going to be days where it'll be hard, both physically and emotionally. I've been there more than I like to admit, but stay disciplined, push through the pain, because on the other side of that pain is growth. And I always use these two phrases, and I tell people all the time. One of them's no pressure, no diamonds, right? Because diamonds are one of the strongest materials on earth, but they're created through immense amounts of pressure, right? And harsh environments. Right. The other one is no mud, no lotus, right? The lotus flower is one of the most beautiful things that grow in nature. And they grow in, again, these harsh conditions, muddy conditions, right? So, and on top of that, it's funny. I listen to a lot of motivational podcasts, because I got to keep myself motivated. There was this one by Fearless Motivation that says, the struggle will strengthen you. That people don't want to hear about the man or the woman that was given everything. They want to hear the stories of the men and women that endure pain and really turn their struggles into a gift. So if you're one of those people that think that you can't do it, or starting from a place where you think it might not be possible, I just want to remind or just tell you guys, you can do it. and it is possible, right? What a lot of people, again, didn't know is, where I started. I've got some pretty awesome before and after pics if you want some proof.
Oh yeah, for sure. I didn't know you were overweight before. That was a shock to me.
Yeah. I was about 267 pounds, I think, and never worked out a day in my life at 5'10" and a half, and I just went for it. So that's what I would tell anyone who wants to compete or thinking about it. Go for it. I promise you'll be proud of yourself. And the biggest gift I think that I got from this is that it'll inspire others. And how cool is that, right? To inspire someone else to kind of go after whatever goals that they might have, whether it's in fitness or business or whatever it is. So
yeah, that's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's rewarding. I just pulled up No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering. It's a book by a guy that I can't pronounce his last name.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. That's awesome.
Yeah. Glad that you gave me those quotes, though. We're going to be coming out with a fitness log book that has motivational quotes on the bottom of every single page, a different one, as you go through.
Love it.
Yeah, so I post my log. I post my workout from the day pretty much every day on my stories, and I had more people say, "Where'd you get that book? Where'd you get that book?" And I've been just giving them the link to the person that sells it, and like, man, I could have sold so many of these things by now if I would have just made my own stuff.
I love that idea. That's amazing.
That's what we're working on now. So I'm going to add that quote to it. I like that one. Awesome. So, okay, this is something I was dying to talk to you about. How did you get your workouts in when the gym's closed?
Oh gosh, I did a lot of crying. That was a good ab workout. No, I'm just kidding. It's funny, when I heard that the gyms were closing during the whole start of the pandemic, I immediately, I'd say within an hour to 2 hours, I went to Big Five. After Big Five, I drove to Walmart to Play It Again Sports. I went to pretty much every sporting goods store within, a 20-mile radius of my house, just to buy anything. I jumped on OfferUp, eBay, Amazon, and I got as much stuff as I could, or I should say, I got as much stuff as I could afford. Workout equipment is not cheap, and if you saw my place, I know you can kind of see a little of it in the background here. What's off camera is all my gym equipment. So I just, I bought a couple benches, but they were cheap ones. I bought, some dumbbells, some resistant bands, just whatever I could. And I just worked out from home, and it was tough because I thrive in a gym environment. I thrive with other people working out around me. I pick up that energy. So it was really hard for me to start working out by myself, but I just plugged in my headphones, like I normally would. Now, the difference is that when you have a home gym with makeshift equipment or just not, big equipment, you can't really do big weight. I live in a 800 square foot condo, 1 bedroom. Dang. And it's small.
People underneath you probably wouldn't appreciate heavy deadlifts, huh?
Yeah, thankfully I'm on the lower floor, but still, I'm sure they could still probably hear that. Sometimes I would grunt super loud. Something that was actually an advantage when you're working out at home. You can yell and grunt as loud as you want without.
Oh, my neighbors already know. They're like, Colt working out 6 houses down. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Yeah. So, really, without being able to do big weight, this was also kind of a blessing in disguise because it really forced me to focus on my intent, my intensity, my form, my mind muscle connection, where most people think that, and I'm probably going to get flack for this, but I do feel you need big weight to grow, but I was still able to grow with the equipment that I had. I just had to make sure that, I always keep a logbook. So I'd always beat the logbook either through repetition. I would experiment to find different ways to really hit the target muscle. And you know what that's about. I've seen videos of you training and you in different positions where, some random person who is just an old school person who just is used to old school exercises might think, what in the world is that guy doing? Right.
Yeah.
But kind of what I said in my whole ab exercise pitch is that you got to find the exercises that work best for you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I'm starting to get a reputation for that now. It's like, oh, Colt's doing tricep push downs on the lat on the lat pull down machine, like the one with the lever on and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So do you want to become an IFBB pro? Like how far do you want to go with bodybuilding?
Do I want to become an IFBB pro? Yes, definitely.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, right. But to be honest, I didn't even really think that it was an option for me until I competed at Emerald. Some of the feedback that I got from people were, I think you're meant for this sport. And gosh, it still warms my heart and gives me goosebumps. Because again, I didn't have any expectations going into it. And so I would like to, I'd like to get my pro card, and I'd probably go as long as I feel I can, as safely as I can, until, it gets, I feel like it's unhealthy for me. I always want to put health in the forefront of whatever I'm doing. So as I mentioned, I'm getting up there in age, so my body can only handle so much, and I'll give it my all until I feel like I need to pull back.
Yeah, that's awesome. And most natural bodybuilders peak out when they're like 50 and 60 years old too. Like I had to just say, screw it, I'm taking some time off so I can get big, because I keep taking second place to people that are 50 and 60 years old and they have grandkids. You got time, bro. You got all kinds of time.
Oh man, thank you.
Yeah.
And you got this. In your posing, I just have to say your posing is on point. So
Thanks.
Kudos to you.
I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot. I get sick of holding up poses all day, and so I just made a picture of it and just stick it up there. So
love it.
I don't have to anymore. Awesome. Well, 2 questions. Still good on time.
Sure.
Appreciate your time, brother. Okay.
Yeah.
Of yourself as a spiritual gangsta. What does your faith play a role in your approach to training?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100 million thousand %. See, I'm human, right? I get negative thoughts all the time, right? But whenever those negative thoughts creep in, I find it super helpful to pray throughout my day. No matter how quick or how long, sometimes it's just a quick sentence like, a God or whatever you believe in out there, whatever higher power it is, please release these thoughts that don't serve me, or whatever, right? It could be something as simple as a quick sentence. Something that I also do religiously is I practice daily meditation, and it helps me a lot. I'm always on the move. I think most people are always on the move, and our minds are always so busy. So, what meditation helps me do is it helps me slow down, stay grounded, take a deep breath, and more importantly, be in the present moment, right? But as I mentioned, faith, it's still pretty new in my life, to be honest. I grew up with it for my family being Catholic, but I kind of strayed away, and I really didn't have any. It's not like I didn't have faith. I just had faith in other things like girlfriends or material things. And
well, everybody has faith, even if you classify yourself as not having a religion, that's still faith to some degree. Having faith. Yeah, we're here by accident.
Yeah. So you know, it's just helped me stay present and trust in a greater plan for me. And, in the grand scheme of things, really, I have little or no control. It's helped me find purpose. I'm always going to strive to be the best version of myself. But what it all boils down to, and this is just my opinion, is it boils down to relationship and how can I be helpful to others, right? I've lived so much of my life in self-will for myself that today, rather than asking what can a relationship do for me, whether it's a friend or business or, partner, I turn that around and I say, what can I do for this relationship? It's a beautiful thing to be kind, loving, patient, and tolerant. Am I all those things all the time? Absolutely not. If I said that, then I would be a big fat liar. But my faith, helps me get closer to those things. And, as I mentioned, I listen to a lot of things that help me build character and inspire me. I don't know if you've heard of the motivational speaker, Inky Johnson. But one of the things that he said in one of his...
Inky Johnson?
Inky Johnson, yeah. And he said one time that, he was in an airplane for the first time in his life. And if you don't know Inky actually came from nothing. Like, was in a studio apartment with 8 siblings or something. They all slept in one bed.
Yeah.
So, being on an airplane was a big deal for him. And, well, he said when he went to go use the bathroom, there was a sign on the wall before leaving that said, out of respect for the people after you, please leave the bathroom better than you found it. Or something like that. I may have just butchered that.
Yeah.
But then he took that statement, right, and applied it to his life, ultimately saying, leave this world better than you found it. And, that really blew me away the first time hearing it. So as a commitment to myself and my personal journey, I'm going to do my best to leave this world a better place for the sake of my children, my friends, my family, or just, everyone in general. And also, I want to try to impact the people that come into my life positively. Keyword there is try. I'm going to try because, again, we're all human. We'll make mistakes. We'll fall. The important thing is that we continue to do our best, right? And place one foot in front of the other.
Right.
And, whatever capacity that looks like. But yeah, faith is huge for me. And you'll see me in the gym. Actually, a photographer that I was with last week took a couple snaps of me while I was working out, and he caught me making the sign of a cross, while I was doing his dumbbell sets. So, that's just what it is to me.
It's something that I kind of like about being forced to wear masks while we're working out now is like if I'm singing to a song, or like if I'm praying before a set or something, nobody can see it, and it's kind of low key. I don't like to pray to win because you probably agree, like ethically, I'm like then you're praying against somebody else. But
agreed, yeah.
But like one of my favorites is not by might, not by power, but by your spirit. I think that's or by my spirit. It's in Zechariah, I think 4:6, and it may not be word for word, but it's basically the idea. It's a prayer that it's a sentence that has no predicate and it has no subject, so it could technically be applied to anything that's in relation to God's will if it's part of that purpose. So that's one of my favorites. But yeah, especially like for heavy squats or something, I'm not praying for performance so much as I am just his purpose for my life, and that I could walk in that purpose, and having that feeling in my spirit and in my soul before a workout. It's like the workout just takes care of itself after that. Yeah,
that's amazing. I just wrote that down too. It's, you just feel lighter, right? I mean, there's just, when you give up control, there's just, it just helps with everything, right? So whether you're in the gym, right, whether you're working, whatever it is.
Yeah, everything. I pulled up Inky Johnson quotes on Google, and there's this website that has 21 of them. I just wrote down the first one that came up off the list, which is awesome. So I can't wait to read the rest. I'm going to add one of these to the logbook. But play the hand you're dealt like it's the one you've always wanted. Yuki Johnson.
Love it. Yeah, he is the man. He's got an amazing story. So I urge anyone to listen to him.
Yeah,
I found him on Spotify a couple years ago, and I still can't get enough of him.
Yeah, awesome. Last question for you, my man. This is the theme of our show. So, as you know, a superset is when you alternate between two different exercises that are opposite muscle groups, and they enhance the benefits and the performance of the other. So, have you found bodybuilding to be a superset as a foundation into other areas that are seemingly unrelated to fitness?
Definitely. I carry it into all aspects of my life, especially, obviously in the gym, it's almost a form of meditation to do bodybuilding, but, the world is going to keep throwing punches at you. Right. And, life is hard, it just is, that's the truth. But, the truth is we got to push past the pain, and, the reward on the other side of it is probably more than you can even conjure up in your own mind. So, I will continue to always improve, and that's also a part of it, right? Like we always want to persist into becoming the best versions of ourselves, and that's okay, right? We got to take care of ourselves, both emotionally, physically, and I think that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, brother. It's been an absolute honor. Appreciate your time on this show. And
of course, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah, awesome, man. We'll catch up soon. And next time you step on stage, I will have to go around too, whenever that is.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
Hey, podcast. Thank you so much for joining us for this entire episode. If you found this entertaining or if you found it helpful, we ask if you would please share this and help spread the word. To make sure that you don't miss future weekly episodes, we have a new episode every Saturday morning. You can subscribe to the podcast, and it would mean the world to us if you would leave us a rating or a review on iTunes or whatever platform that you're listening on. And if you're listening to this audio, remember that you can watch the video on YouTube. We are not on Patreon or any other service for donations. This content is our gift to you. If you would like to support the show, we do invite you to our website, supersetyourlife.com, where you will find our retail pages for our very own Skullbellz workout equipment line, hats, t-shirts, coaching services, and my stand-up comedy booking information. On the website, you will also find the link to subscribe to our weekly newsletter to be informed of new product announcements, sales, and all information to be up to date on what is going on. Finally, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at supersetyourlife.com. Thanks again, and God bless. Also, the audio is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. Probably a couple other ones I don't even know about. Thanks a lot.